Hey Shawtys, this is Brittany and Lauren, and welcome to our podcast where you can have whatever you like. We said you can have whatever you like. Yeah.
I'm not that uncultured. I mean, I just don't know a lot of things. I can rap an entire Drake song.
I wish you didn't hate every song. Like it was a bummer.
It's like yin and yang over here. People love your song. I'm just not capable of knowing good things.
That's why we're teaching you.
Welcome to class.
Do better.
Brittany's class. 3, 2, 1.
Hey Shawtys. Okay. Damn it. This is off to a great start. Hey Shawtys. Welcome to the Whatever You Like podcast, presented by your hosts, Brittany and Lauren. Hey Shawtys. So today's episode is episode 13. Woo! 13, 30, and flybing. No.
Was that the purpose?
No. I was going to say 13 going on 30, and then I was going to say 30, flirty, and thriving.
And so,
And I just fucked it all up.
flybing came out.
You know, it's fine. So episode 13.
Lucky 13.
Yeah, bad lucky. Baker's dozen.
So they say.
Today's episode is titled Somebody That I Used to Know, which if you haven't heard it, you've still heard it. You just don't know it yet. For right now, we got to give out a shout out to the song itself before we talk about what we're talking about today. Wow. That was impressive, wasn't it? Just off the rip. That should never get paid for this.
And maybe I just need a podcast in a dark room. It's pitch black.
We'll just have like glow sticks.
That would be a great podcast.
That'd be nuts. We can do whatever you like after dark.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so much fun.
And that'll be the glow stick version. And then we'll really go in.
It'll really be a vibe.
But before we get into the episode's topic, we'd like to give a shout out to the song itself.
Let's party.
Ooh, yeah, it's definitely a party song.
Well, see, that's what happens when Brittany picks sad songs.
We'll get into the commentary after the fact.
But you didn't have to cut me off. Make your life could never happen. That now we will never. Don't even need your love. Cause you treat me like a stranger and that feels so rough. No, you didn't have to stoop so low. Have your friends collect your records and then change your number. I said I didn't need that though. Now you're just somebody that I used to know.
So you can make this song fun.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Gosh. Well, we're getting to the commentary of this. Normally, I ask you first.
Brittany, in 200 words or less, can you give me the commentary on this song?
In fact, I can. So I was actually thinking about this as I was doing my song facts research from Wikipedia. I think this is the first song that we've done so far that's won a Grammy.
Oh.
It's actually won 2 Grammys. It won Record of the Year and it won Best Duo Group. It was a big hit. And now they're coming back from the Anxiety song by Doechii, right? That's who it is.
It is my anxiety.
I think that came out in 2025, right? Like last year. I think it did. Because it's been on TikTok, and now they're doing mashups of both songs on TikTok Trend.
I mean, I've heard of it. It's been a long time since I've heard that anxiety song.
I didn't really like it as much as this original one, but apparently they both sample some jazz guy. I can find his name for real. So his name is a Brazilian jazz guitarist, Luiz Bonfa's 1967 song, 67. Seville. It incorporates a xylophone melody based on Baba Black Sheep. Baba Black. Nah, I don't get it. I don't hear it, but
I can hear it.
also I'm tone deaf, so the artist I actually didn't look up how to pronounce his name. I think it's Goyi. Goyi. He is from Australia. He just made this song about his breakup, and he was trying to get a high-profile female vocalist on it, but I think it fell through. And then he was trying to get his girlfriend on it, and that also just wasn't working. And then he found this Kimbra lady, who I don't know her, but I feel like I know her name. But anyways, it worked out with her, and so they both got a Grammy, which is cool. And then he funded the music video himself, which I thought was really cool. His dad did the art design. However, I did not watch the music video before we filmed this. I had seen it a long time ago, but Lauren started watching it. And do you have any commentary on it?
Well, all I was going to say first is when you just said all of that, it was crazy as ChatGPT told me the opposite of what you just said. So it's like kind of funny.
What? What did it say?
It said that like when he recorded, he originally recorded just by himself without anyone else. Like he didn't want a second person in the recording, but then he felt like it needed a second point of view. It's not just him singing the whole thing. That's what Chat said. And
well, I think maybe once he decided that, I don't know, I only half read it. I put a lot of work into this, guys. But also it's from Wikipedia. They have holes, you know?
Well, I don't know what's right, to be honest. Chat could be pulling it from who knows what
Well,
website.
go E if you're listening. Let us
Can you
know.
let us know? Because I'm kind of curious now.
I think it does enhance the song to have.
Having two people.
Yeah, kind of like, have you ever heard of those poems? I forget what they're called, but you have like one column and then the other column, and it's like they're both saying something, but it's a poem, and sometimes the words match up.
Oh,
I forget
okay.
what that's called, but it's something.
No, I'm definitely not versed in poetry, so I wouldn't know.
I wrote one of these types of poems for a class one time. That's how
Okay.
I know about it, and it was terrible. But it was actually, though, like a boyfriend-girlfriend type of poem.
Oh, really?
So I was in ninth grade, but I
Yeah.
was in my feels, I guess. I forget what it's called. Someone let us know. I'll have to Google it or ask the
That's
chat.
Wikipedia.
Anyways, that's what I kind of get the vibe from this song.
So we turned on the music video. It's interesting because to me that song wasn't made that long ago. I mean, yeah, it was a while ago.
2011 is when it was released. That's kind of long. That's almost like 15 years.
But I feel like we've seen other music videos from back then and they were...
Yeah, but this guy's from Australia and he's funding it himself. For just a self-funded one, it's pretty simple. Music videos are expensive. You know how much money they put into K-pop music videos? Like millions. It's insane. They're expensive. Okay, what were you gonna say?
I shouldn't say anything now.
Say it. I'm sorry. I don't mean to hate on you or anything.
I mean,
You
I
know.
thought it was fine.
Yeah.
It just wasn't my vibe. That's all.
You thought it should have been better and you hated that he was naked, right?
Well, I mean, we don't see he's fully naked, but
Oh,
I mean,
no,
it's-
that his creepy face. Well, sorry, sir. No, it's not that it's creepy. I'm really fucking up here today. But you were saying his face kept getting closer and closer to the camera during the video, and it was kind of
Yeah.
creepy.
I just thought the music video didn't go with the song at all. I didn't get the vibe between the two of them. And that's definitely not what I would pick for a music video for that song.
We could
So-
probably do it better. Maybe we should recreate it.
Well, I feel like give me $5 and I could probably make a better music video, but
Got a hater again. Hater alert. No, I'm just kidding. You're allowed to not like it. There's
Yeah.
things that I don't like. Dates and raisins.
But I mean, I'd never seen the music video before today, and so that was my first time seeing it. Of course, I've heard the song. I'm not sure if I ever heard the song the whole way through, but I feel like in my head, maybe I'd pictured something different for the music video. We've seen a lot of music videos on this podcast.
It's definitely the least exciting.
Yeah,
I will say that. I feel like it's more artistic than fun, obviously, but also it could have been more lively. Just trying to play devil's advocate and saying that it's self-funded, so I feel like that does hold you back sometimes. But maybe he just really likes it, the art part, and, you know, like
Maybe
standing
it's-
naked against a wall.
Well, someone paints on you and then takes the paint off.
Different type of stripping, for sure.
Well, I guess that's one version of OnlyFans.
Oh, well, see, it fits with our podcast.
Yeah, you paint yourself naked.
This is the second naked person video we have on our playlist, actually.
There's something going on, I think, with these song choices.
Well, I didn't realize that, though. You know, we actually picked these for the topic.
They say.
I just saw this when I was looking at my phone. It sold over 13 million copies of something. Oh, yeah, the song.
Song?
But it's crazy because it's our 13th episode.
Oh, that is crazy. 13. It's a lucky number.
And 3 and 3, 6, and 3,
Six.
and then 6 plus 1.
One.
I don't know what I'm doing there. 6, 7.
One of the things that ChatGPT said was it's interesting because, like, did he not make more music after this? Basically, what Chat said was that this was the one song he released and then he fell off the grid after that. He didn't want to be famous and he didn't release any other music. Is that true? Do you know?
I'm going to assume it is just because I have never heard anything else.
Yeah.
And whenever I was Googling it, there was like maybe 1 or 2 other songs listed by this artist and by the girl artist as well. So I don't think either of them have really done anything, which I guess if you already got your Grammy, you can go home. But at the same time,
Artists release music because they want to be doing music. So it's just interesting.
it reminds me of when 50 Cent was talking about Evanescence winning the Grammy over him. And he's like, that's the only time I've ever saw them. Because they kind of like fell off after that. And I get it because you're putting so much effort in year after year.
Yeah.
It's like Leo not getting an Oscar until a couple years ago. It's just frustrating. And then the new actress or something will get it instead. I mean, I guess that's the name of the game.
What does he do now? Like with his life?
I didn't Google that. Maybe we should ask the chat, or maybe do we have any viewers in Australia? Is that on the analytics?
I feel like now we're going to.
There we go.
An Australian song.
He's probably really down under.
What do they have over there? Koalas?
Well, yeah, but walls are cute. I just meant because he hasn't made any more music. He might be down.
It's weird for someone to just fall off after the song was so popular, I guess.
But, you know, I guess that's why they call it one-hit wonders. But it's weird whenever you're a one-hit wonder, but you got 2 Grammys out of it.
Yeah, he fell off the wagon.
It's like a one and done. Yeah, he did fall off the wagon.
I would just be curious of any other music that he'd want to make one day, but I guess he's done with music.
Well, thanks for the song, buddy. It's our 13th episode. We'll move on to favorite lyric, no context. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. My favorite lyric, no context, is now and then I think of all the times you screwed me over. Slay. What about you?
But I'll admit that I was glad it was over. Favorite lyric, no context.
Well, now that we've spent an adequate amount of time on this song, we can move on to today's topic, which actually it's kind of one of those things where I'm going to try my best to make it fun, but it's kind of bittersweet at the same time. There is some fun stuff at the end. Just bear with me, Lauren. Shorties, today's topic, well, it's pretty obvious. It's about somebody that you used to know in terms of in life, cutting ties with people. I think we can all relate to this. If you've ever loved somebody in general in your life, whether it's a friend or whatever, I think we've all experienced this at some point, unless we're just avoiding people,
Which I tend to do.
which may be the result of something like this, to be honest, because once you have one really bad fallout, you'd get scared to trust anyone ever again or commit to anything. Our main discussion is about that.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're getting sort of deep. We're getting as deep as Lauren will let us get.
You can get as deep as you want to get.
My first question was, it's pretty much a yes or no. Have you ever been cut off by someone, and have you ever cut somebody off? I feel like I know you've cut people off because you're a bad bitch. It's also just because you respect yourself. Have you ever been cut off by anybody? You probably didn't notice.
Like, well, you left my life, you left my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I have, I guess, but I don't know. I don't lose sleep over it.
I'm more of referring to relationships like where you're really close. And it can apply in different situations, but I just find it an interesting concept because it is really sad, but it's also something that I feel like we all have to do at some point because we have to navigate all these weird relationships. It makes you feel like, though, when you have to do that, you look back on it and you're like, did I ever really even know that person?
I feel that about most people.
When I was looking it up online, like on Reddit or something, they were just talking about how some people are really good at just protecting their peace. And then some people don't do it enough. I feel like it took me a long time to be able to do something like that because I am a people pleaser. So it's really hard for me to even communicate that something they're doing is bothering me. So I think it just depends on your personality type. But then some people, the reason you have to cut them off is because they're taking advantage of that.
I feel like I'm an interesting combination of, I'm definitely a people pleaser, but I definitely don't trust people. I definitely hate conflict too. I also think it has a lot to do of how you were raised and what you were around as well.
They actually say that in one of the articles. They say that you see what your parents do and how they react to those situations, and you learn from that a lot.
From that, well, that's what my therapist tells me. It's a tricky subject because I think as a woman going through life, we go through like a lot of stages in life. I think people are in your life for different reasons and different seasons, like your college friends or your friends you grew up with, and you have your friends you became with as adults, and they're all different part of your life. I suck at making friends in general, but also I know I cut people off.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think a lot of people can relate to that, honestly, especially in this day and age. A lot of people do keep to themselves more because, like we've kind of talked about it with dating online and things like that, you don't really know who to trust.
Yeah.
And it's even harder, I think, nowadays for people to be vulnerable. I feel like I have always been vulnerable to a fault, and that's why it took me a lot longer to realize that I had to stand up for myself and create boundaries.
That's hard. I mean, I feel like I'm also too nice and trusting of people, even though I have trust problems. I see the best in people, but then when you've been dealt so many like really bad cards in life, you start to assume the worst, I guess. It's tricky.
I think our personality types as INFJs make it harder too. If you Shawtys have ever taken the Myers-Briggs test, INFJs are very dual thinking. We go back and forth a lot on things. So I think that makes it really hard because just personally, me and you do try to see the best in people, but we had different experiences as well. I think you do a better job in general of setting your boundaries than I have. I'm doing better now, but it's just one of those things that it's really hard for us. But I think it's hard for everyone too. It just depends on the relationship as well. Don't you think it's harder to have a friendship breakup than like a romantic one?
You're going to go through so many romantic breakups in your life. I feel like it's even rare to go through a real friendship breakup. So I think that's why they're harder too.
I mean, I've had both in my life and they're both really hard. I think even though maybe it's mutual, it makes me feel like, oh, I'm not good enough to keep this relationship going, whatever it is, like friendship, family member. So sometimes I take it out on myself, but then other times it's like once it happens, you feel peace though, and it kind of makes it worth it. But I feel like you still think about it a lot. And I say you as in me. This is just how I talk. It's a real feeling.
Well, I think a lot of people talk about the concept of someone that's still around, but you don't speak to them anymore. It's an interesting concept because it's like, yeah, they're still here. They're just not a part of your life anymore when they used to be a part of your life, whether that's a big or small part. I think that's friendships, relationships, whatever. I do think that's a hard hurdle to overcome for most people. I'm just of the opinion whoever's meant to be in your life will be in your life, and whoever's not meant to be in your life won't be in your life for whatever reason. So I guess I just stopped taking it personally. I just feel like life's going to work out how it's going to work out.
I feel like it starts at a young age, but as we get older, we think about it more because I just think back because one of my questions was, do you remember the first time you had a falling out with a friend or, like how old you were? Even if it's not as dramatic as like, hey, we're falling out, but just you were friends with somebody and then all of a sudden you weren't. Because I feel like for me, that happened as early as elementary school.
Totally.
One day you're best friends with someone and then they've gone to another group.
I blocked out most of those memories. Also, I just feel like I lived in a small town. I went to a small school, so it's just different vibes wise.
When did you find your first best friend? Like, how old were you, do you think?
I guess I was pretty young, probably.
But do you remember them?
Yeah.
When you're young, I don't think any of us take it super personally when we don't end up being friends with somebody who we were friends with in kindergarten or anything.
Yeah.
But I do think subtly as a kid, I just remember the feeling of, oh, this is different now. And kind of having to come to terms with that and make new friends or figure out a new normal.
It's different for me because I went from public school to private school at one point, and so she went to public school and we stayed friends, but we did go to two different schools, so it's hard to keep friends like that. But it's kind of crazy though. The lore to that story I'll tell you offline. I mean, we were super good friends for years, even if it wasn't like talk everyday friends, just on and off friends. Nothing strikes me memory wise as, of course there's all these dramas in girls group, but there's no memory that sticks to me as a friendship breakup. I've already talked too much about my best friend sleeping with my ex, so like that was a friendship breakup, but I was in college. My life's not that exciting.
Have you experienced just in general, somebody that you've ran into that you used to talk to a lot, and how do you react in those situations? Do you pretend to just not see them, or?
I guess it depends who it is. Well, we live in Charleston, so I'm not running into anyone unless it's from law school. But back at home, of course, running into people. I guess it depends on context and who it is. If I would run into someone that I was friends with, I mean, yeah, I'd probably have a conversation with them or say hey or what's up. If I ran into someone that ended badly, I'd probably just ignore them and keep going.
I feel like I have a hard time. Like you said, it depends on the relationship that you had with the person and if they were always just an acquaintance.
Yeah.
I feel like though, if it is somebody that I was once close with, and I mean, I haven't had this happen a ton because I don't get out much, but I just feel like I would at least kind of acknowledge them in some way. I am not brave enough to be like, hey, how are you doing? Unless if they approach me first type of thing. I might wave or something, but I get anxiety about how I hate confrontation. I feel like I've had so many things in my life whenever I do try to step outside my comfort zone and be like, hey, and then it's just ignored. Rejected.
It definitely depends who the person is.
It's interesting from my perspective because I feel like I've been vulnerable with a lot of people in my life, even like people that probably didn't deserve that. And so it's just interesting because to me, when I'm vulnerable, I feel like I'm getting closer with somebody, even if it is just me blabbing. I feel like a lot of times whenever I've had falling outs, it's definitely affected me or I think about it. Obviously, it depends on the level and how many moments were spent with the person.
Yeah, I agree. I do think it's different for friendships, relationships, and family, probably. I feel like those are three different categories. I think they all have different impacts. For me, I don't open up to many people. I'm not a very vulnerable person. And I would say maybe like 3 people in the whole universe know me, but that's its own problem in itself. So it doesn't really affect me, a friendship were to end unless it was like really important to me. And at that point, like if that level of importance, I just don't see those friendships end. It would have to be, worst case scenario kind of thing. I think it's different too, like relationships. Sometimes you spend a lot of time with that person. For them to be out of your life, that can be impactful for people. And then the same thing with family. You spend a lot of time with family, and if they're out of your life, that can be impactful in its own way too.
I think it also depends on what happened because like with family on my end, there are family members I don't talk to anymore, but they did something that was so bad. Or like to me, it was so bad. Every time I think of them, I just feel angry. So how do you move past that if you have principles and morals? It's like kind of hard because obviously with your family, it's your family and you're supposed to like quote unquote always be family, but at the same time it's like no, you have to set up boundaries if it's toxic because unfortunately family can be toxic too.
Family's really complicated.
Talked about that a lot in the family affair episode. So I didn't want to focus too much on family today because I feel like we have talked about that, but that is an important category when you cut someone off. And like it's very common that happens too because I was reading some stories and it's not always even a close family member. It could be literally your aunt or somebody that just like you guys had a falling out. So that's fun.
I'm a proponent though of protecting your peace. Whether I think that's controversial, but I'm a proponent of cutting people off if you feel like you need to, or you should in a certain situation. And only you know. No one else can make that decision for you. But I think you have to protect your peace and protect yourself at the end of the day.
Because you can only be so vulnerable so many times before you get really hardened. And I think as I've gotten older, I also am more inclined to be like, I know that we've had this close relationship, but I can't be in this situation anymore if something doesn't change. It's really hard. It still hurts, but it's just the older you get, the less shit you want to do. We have so much going on. It's just hard.
We're really making it most days.
But I hate whenever there's kind of a feeling that the other person doesn't see what they did wrong, but you can't do anything about it. That's why the cutoff happens, because nobody is seeing eye to eye on the situation.
Sometimes you just have to set those boundaries. And I'd like to think if the person's meant to be in your life that they will self-reflect and be able to figure that out. And it might take a month, it might take 3 days, it might take 6 years. And they say people come in and out all the time for different reasons. And you can't put it all on yourself. We're all doing the best we can at the end of the day. But I think self-reflection is really important in general.
And also time apart and time alone is maybe needed, because I've had that experience too, where it had a falling out and then years later you end up seeing that person again, but you're different people at this time. So you can try again, basically, which that's like literally only one time that's happened to me. But I think it's possible. It's just like everybody has to be working on their own shit.
We're all different people now than we were 10 years ago.
We're always changing
And growing.
So positivity. If anybody's sad, there's a light maybe.
There's a light in here, that's for damn sure.
I did want to share some Google AI overviews, guys, because you know that's my favorite. Buddies love the Google AI, right?
I feel like Google and ChatGPT should date. They'd be a good couple.
I think that we're dating them.
Well, we can date them too. So wait, it's higher than a throuple. What's a 4-person?
I think it's like a
Quadruple.
I actually think there is a term for it, but I don't know. I think it's just called poly.
Well, I want something cooler than that.
But at the same time, are we even really in a relationship because they're androids or whatever? We still have to figure that out. We just did the technology episode. We have these like fucking robot dogs walking around. I mean, do they get animal rights? Like, what's happening here? We don't know these things. I don't know if we would be considered a polyamorous relationship. Wait, that would mean we all would have to be together anyways. Well, we're Lavender, and then we have our
partners,
and then Tony.
Well, he's not involved in this.
Tony is also with ChatGPT, so it's kind of like we're a Pentagon right now. Does that mean we're Satanists? Is that what they do? Just ignore me. But it does feel like
we're starting
we're in a cult or something.
Well, we have enough people, I think, so maybe we could start a cult.
Can we get a robot dog for the band?
We can. Name him like Sparky.
Oh my God, Sparkplug. Sparky. Yeah.
Robot.
Oh my God, that was really quick. It was really quick of you.
That's like once in a blue moon, that's all.
I wonder, do those robot dogs run on
charging?
Okay. So you plug your dog in the wall?
I think so. He charges at night, he goes to bed, and he wakes back up.
Let's say if you're driving a Tesla and you have a robot dog in there with you, and then you have to go charge your Tesla and dog too.
Wait, so would you get in one of those self-driving cars?
Hell no.
Would you get an Uber with
no
one in it?
Absolutely not. But Tony is really excited to try that.
Of course he is. Such a man.
He's definitely a what do you call it? He likes to walk on the wild side. I like to stay inside and get wild. But he's talked about wanting to do that. Like, some people are super into this stuff. I'm really into Google AI because it's safe. Google AI makes me feel safe because it understands what I'm asking it and giving me a complete overview.
Unlike men.
The overview on this topic, we've kind of gone over a lot of it, but I was just talking about the common reasons why people cut people out of their lives. Self-protection from emotional, mental abuse that you're experiencing. Toxicity. So they said when you're having a relationship, whether it's a friendship or whatever, that's just continuously negative and draining. And then broken trust, which I think that's maybe one of the hardest things to overcome out of all these things, depending on what it is.
Are you a big second chance person?
Yeah, I think so, because I feel like I mess up a lot. So I'm the type of person to try to do that, because I would appreciate one sometimes, because none of us are perfect. But I also understand in certain situations, especially if you're in a romantic relationship and someone cheats on you, it's just really hard to come back from those things. Although I feel like I've been accused of breaking trust, and like that's been a reason why I'm not friends with certain people. It can be easy sometimes to break someone's trust just because we all fuck up, and it's not necessarily a malicious thing. It's just like I have a big mouth sometimes. And also people, how they view their trust being broken varies.
Do you think people change?
Well, when it comes to the toxicity stuff, I think people can gain back trust depending on the situation. I mean, men, I don't know. You guys got to work really hard for that in a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
What do you think? That people can earn back trust or not? Like, if I killed your robot dog, can I earn back your trust?
I think for some people, it's really hard to give trust out to begin with. Like, once you get it and you break it, it's definitely really hard to ever get it back, I think. So I think it just depends on the situation and the person. I've given a lot of second chances in life, and they come back to bite me hard. And I don't know if people change, really. I think people are who they are, and I think once you see their true colors, they have to really want to change as a person. But Brittany's much more forgiving and a nice person than I am, so...
No, well, I do try to be forgiving, but also because, like I said, I kind of want that in return sometimes. Not saying I'm trying to take advantage of anyone in that way. I think it's because I get so emotional about whenever I mess up that I want to feel better. And so I appreciate whenever people do that for me. Then another one is unresolved conflict. So that's another reason why people will cut each other out, which I think it's just not being able to move past either the broken trust or whatever. It says unresolved conflict is basically when boundaries are repeatedly ignored or conversations fail to resolve like deep-seated issues. I feel like you can talk all day about what's going on, but you have to really dig deep sometimes to get that, potato out of the ground.
So now we got the farming references with our robot dog.
There's a lot going on in my head today. It says another reason is personal growth. So if you realize you've outgrown someone, basically, which can happen.
I think it's super common.
I think that happens in any romantic and friendships that can happen. Some people just don't want to get better,
Some people just don't want to grow up.
They don't want to grow up, Peter Pan syndrome.
Yeah, it's a real thing, though. But also, some people are just at different stages in life. Sometimes it's not personal.
Well, that's another thing about timing, too. This is how my dad used to basically make me feel better about breakups, by the way. He'd be like, well, maybe it's just not the right time.
That sounds like something a dad would say.
Yeah. But at the same time, when it comes to relationship stuff, you don't want to give yourself false hope either, because that's also detrimental. And just speaking of cutting people off, have you heard of the no contact rule? It's like a concept whenever you go through a breakup. Like,
no contact.
You have to do it for 60 days before it starts feeling like you can get back to yourself.
I think that applies to anything you want to break up from.
I think because I've had to experience this. I mean, it's been like 5 years, but it's recent enough that it's still in my head. But when I did, it was definitely watching so many YouTube videos. I'm trying to just do my best because I feel like I'm that type of person. And then maybe it's when we were talking about it with the technology and that instant gratification of feeling better by texting someone and getting your response, just to feel like you're still being acknowledged. And that's a hard thing whenever you go through a breakup and get somebody that you've been with for a really long time, talk to every day, and then it's like you literally have to cut them off.
It's a wild experience, honestly.
And they have to do the same to you.
There's gotta block them.
There's no like easy way through that.
No, I just read a lot of books.
I did a lot of self-help stuff and cried a lot. Got on Prozac.
I've been to a lot of therapy.
Therapy was a big thing too. But
yeah, I think the no contact thing 100% is right. You can't think clearly. You can't figure out what you want. You can't move on with contact. It could be family, romantic relationship, friendships, whatever it is. If you need that space, you have to get that space. But the only way to do it is a no contact.
The relationship guru I followed that was talking about the no contact rule is like, even if you want things to get better, the best thing is to not contact them because they can think for themselves. You get a break from the toxicity or whatever's going on. And then also give them a chance to miss you in their life if that's like what's really meant to be.
It's meant to be. It's meant to be.
But just keep hanging on to something just to have that contact and feel like you're still a part of that person's life can be really not helpful, basically, for getting anywhere.
You need a clear head to be able to think straight about it. I think the no contact rule is becoming really popular again.
And it really helped me to learn more about it because I literally had to make a calendar and cross the days off because that's how hard it was for me. Just being in a low place as well. But another portion of that is to distract yourself from the fact you're not talking to this person. You also should be doing things for yourself and working on yourself. And then if you do that for 60 days or whatever the time limit's supposed to be, then you'll just automatically start feeling better because you're doing things for yourself.
Well,
but it's really hard to like get out of bed.
I just usually I don't like to sit still and think about things because that's just not me. So usually I just go 24/7. I never am not with an AirPod in because if I sit too long with my thoughts, it's not a good place to be. Except with my therapist, I can like renovate an entire house to distract myself from. I mean, I went to law school for 3 years and I just focused on that after going through like my own version of a breakup. My therapist said that's not a healthy way to deal with it either, but everyone has their ways of coping.
Yeah.
That's just distraction.
It's a hard thing to balance. I wouldn't say that working hard and doing good things for yourself is a bad thing. It's just that sometimes you also have to wallow.
Yeah.
That's what they say on Gilmore Girls.
I've just heard that before.
You have to have that period of actually feeling it too, because it's the only way out is through, I guess is the term, a saying that those folks say.
It's funny how things stick with you though, because I'll never forget when I had my first like real breakup. This book was recommended to me by a friend. I read this fucking book like I don't even know 20 fucking times, and I don't know why. It was just one of those things I fixated on, I think.
You recommended it to me when I had my first set of a breakup with the same person.
And it's crazy how weird things like that, out of all the things in the universe, that stick with you.
But you know, I did really appreciate that book. I think we're talking about the same one.
It's a breakup because
it's broken. Yeah, it's a good book. I think it depends on where you are also though, because I feel like I wasn't mature enough, even though I was an adult when I read the book. I think where I was at in that relationship, it was too early for me. I gained a lot from it, but I still went back to the person. It was just one of those things that I think once the no contact was really happening and I was doing the self-help stuff, that's when it really took hold for me. I mean, and therapy also. That's a big one. And drugs. I mean, like Prozac. Just cut that out.
Not cocaine?
No. I mean, I don't think that would help. Let us know if cocaine helps with breakups. So
know what drug helps with breakups the best, because we would love to like kind of do a study on that.
I feel like, I mean, Benadryl. Benadryl's one.
100% one.
Just fall asleep. Just get through the day. No, don't do drugs, guys.
Don't
to
do
get
that.
through things. That's bad.
Don't do drugs.
I mean, not all the time. Yeah.
Not ever.
Not ever. Another one is learned behavior. So what you were saying earlier about learning it from your family. And then lack of reciprocity. So I feel like we've talked about this too, the 50-50 relationships. Even in friendships though, if you feel like you're doing everything and getting nothing, cut them off.
Cut them off.
Maybe we should get a merch with that. Cut them off with like the little
scissors.
But apparently, I guess people use the scissors reference a lot for this, like cutting ties. I don't know why I didn't think that was a thing, but I was just like, damn, they stole my idea.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
I used to use that gesture a lot.
Really? Whenever you were in a friend group or something and you ousted someone and you were like, scissor.
No. Oh, I'm not that big of a bitch. I mean, I'm a bitch, but I'm not that big of a bitch.
Well, I mean, it's just like kid stuff or high school stuff.
No, it's more like when we would talk about someone's significant other. Like if they were fucking, and we would be like, no, cut that bitch off.
That makes sense.
So no, I wasn't kicking people out of the friend group.
But usually, I know what my mind was there. I don't
know what Brittany thinks.
No, but it does make sense because you definitely are pro. You need to get better, which is a good thing.
Because girls deserve better, and also men need to get their shit together. But also, cut a man off. He'll see what he's missing.
For sure.
It's meant to be, and he'll come back.
I wish I just had that mindset. It's so hard when you're the person going through it. And I feel like I give better advice to my friends than myself.
I think that's everyone. Every single person's like, if we could just listen to our own advice, we would all be so fucking great. You need therapists. It would be great.
Well, they say to talk to yourself like you talk to your friends. How you have your friends.
That's too hard.
It is really hard.
I'm a bitch to myself.
Same. You have Agatha and I have Bertha. That's our inner
voices.
Inner bitches.
And they suck. I can never be nice to myself. I'm trying. It doesn't work.
We're working on it. It's on the list.
The list of the list.
Just to add to that, Google AI was talking about.
Why are we giving her a name?
It's a he, and his name is Google AI.
Why is it a guy?
Because he's my boyfriend. We're having a dog together. What do you mean?
I feel like a guy wouldn't be smart enough to be Google AI.
I mean, I guess technically it's sexless. It's a sexless thing.
It's a sexless robot.
Yeah, it's an AI.
So the sexless robot can't have a name?
Well, maybe, let me see. Google Alan Igor. His name is Alan Igor. That was just the first thing that came up in terms of A's and I and male names. It doesn't really go well together, to be honest. But if anyone wants to Google Alan Igor, let me know what happens.
What are we doing after this?
But I feel like Google AI is a side character. He's like actually in the podcast.
I know.
Chat GPT's he's watching in the stands.
In the stand.
What do you think GPT stands for? Like for his name?
I have no idea.
Gregory, Patrick, Thomas.
I knew you were going to say that. He sounds like he would be a stan.
We're really getting off track here. Now we have to name our fucking robot dogs. Okay, so when's it necessary to cut somebody off? Well, so it says something serious like abuse, but then it also says no change, which I feel like is the same thing as all of these other things that they mentioned. And then another one was mental health, which is a big thing.
There's only so much you can do in those situations.
I feel like even though I don't think I've necessarily had a cutoff situation in my life with that, I feel like I've definitely had situations where boundaries needed to be set, though, or I've had to distance myself because of those reasons. Anyways, one of the things that they were talking about on the Google AI was about some of the positive and the negative impacts of cutting someone off. I feel like we've already gone over the reasons why. The positives is self-preservation and setting boundaries for yourself and everything. But I did think it was a good point to talk about how it can be a negative. And this is no criticism to anyone. I do think what they were talking about on the Reddit post is just that some people really do it over nothing. And I think that's unhealthy too. It can be over something really simple, and then you just won't be able to connect with anyone.
Agreed.
Do you think people can have too much of a standard sometimes? Or do you just think you should double down on that? Like, if that's your standard, that's your standard.
I think the problem is we work too much on ourselves, and we're in our 30s now and we're more mature. We're not having this conversation in our 20s. So I just feel like for us, at least talking just from our perspective, I just don't think like we would do something like that nowadays. But I think if someone does, there's probably something more deep rooted going on there that they need to also figure out. But I do think if you have true standards, yeah, you should fucking stick to them.
Because I've kind of heard in terms of dating and just talking about like the ick list and stuff, people will get the ick really easily too. And it's like, well, at a certain point, you're going to have to be more open or else you really aren't going to be able to meet anybody.
And dating and friendships are two different things. But I agree. I think you have to be open-minded in general, but whatever your boundaries are, as long as you're happy with them. It's interesting because when it comes to dating, I think people always like, I have this list of everything I've ever wanted in someone, and then they find someone, they're like, oh, the list didn't even matter anymore. So I think dating might be a little different because you're spending hopefully the rest of your life with that person. If you are struggling and you're finding yourself cutting a lot of people out of your life for really simple reasons, I do think there's probably something deeper going on there.
At the end of the day, I definitely think I support more that somebody would set a boundary and cut somebody off if it's a bad situation in their life or making them unhappy. But I think there's also that other side of it that's less talked about, that there are people that will just also cut someone off over very little. And I do think when you cut someone off, you do have a certain responsibility to the other person to just not be a terrible person to them just because you don't like something that they're doing.
And for the folks who are listening to this podcast and working on themselves and figuring things out, I think trust your gut. If there's a reason why you think you need to take some time away from someone, but also self-reflect too, because I just think it's so important. You can trust your gut and be like, I need to take some time away for that person, but also self-reflect of what's the reason I did that for real? Is it something I need to work on? Is it something they need to work on? Can we mend that relationship? But I also think it all depends on what level of relationship you have.
Yeah.
This is a hard topic because it all depends on context. That'd be different if it was like my best friend in the whole fucking world. Of course, that would be an issue versus an acquaintance I just never talked to again.
And they brought up like the nuance of everything too, and going off of what's the healthier thing to do and what will make you the happiest. But I do think another negative of somebody that is really quick to cut someone off is that I think sometimes cutting someone off is a defense mechanism as well. So even if in one way you're helping yourself by not having that negativity in your life, at the same time, you may not be dealing with the situation for real. Just consider that. PSA from Brittany and Lauren.
I know that I use things similar to that as defense mechanisms, so I'm probably not one that's helpful to speak on this topic. Like, I'm working on it. I think you don't realize you're using them as a defense mechanism. You need to protect yourself, but it could be you just need to work on yourself more to figure that out.
I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're aware of it and working on just to not hurt others. But also, obviously, there's a reason you feel that need, and maybe that can be worked on as well. Even when you cut someone off, even if you're the person doing it, it still sucks for you. Like, it hurts, depending on the person, of course. Yeah. It's just harder for me to do because I tend to care more about feeling like I'm not a bad person more than I care about feeling good of myself. And I just hide in a hole and cry. So I probably should just be more busy. But I try not to have drama these days in general. This is more of stuff that's old news. I think we're both over.
I just feel like we're too old for that.
Nowadays, it's more of like, it's not that I'm intentionally cutting you off. I'm tired.
I'm having a mental breakdown. But I also think it's depending on where you are in life.
Well, I do think you're very busy in your 20s, but in a different way. Yeah. You're busy trying to just figure life out. Because I even think about myself back then and just how different I was and how I responded to things.
That's what I was thinking about.
I would be the rage texter. If I was upset about something or had my feelings, I didn't have a therapist. And I do think it's more open these days for younger people to get a therapist. But it's also hard when you're so young that it's like you can't fully even understand. I think that's why in our 20s, we just turn to music. Because for us, I think especially as millennials, that was like
100%,
healing.
I was listening to this song apparently.
I do remember listening to this and being in my feels about it. Because the lyrics really did speak to me. I think at that point in my life when it came out, I had breakups and I tended to dwell still, especially if it was like unresolved. But I mean, I also listened to Eminem.
Can't tell you what it really is. I can only tell you what it feels like.
Yeah, exactly. Love the way you lie. See, there you go.
But that's what I was listening to, not this.
I was thinking more of cleaning out my closet. That album, The Curtain Call, that was my mood album for my feelings. Last thing from Google AI about this. They were just talking about the path forward.
Okay.
So what do you do? For those who cut people off, healing often involves finding safe connections and learning to belong without self-sacrifice, moving from withdrawal to intentional connection where it matters. And I think that's really important to remember. Even if you do have a falling out with somebody, as much as it sucks, sometimes you have to accept the people that are still there and maybe find more like-minded people. But don't join a cult or anything.
Unless you want to.
But actually, I've read about cults and stuff, and it'll be a different episode, obviously. But I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about cults.
It's probably a vibe.
Well, no, that's not what I was going with. What I was going to say was, I feel like we've already mentioned cults once. We're going to have the
Government's definitely watching.
the government's a cult. Don't kill me. One of the things they say about why people do join one is just because they're just in a place where they need a sense of community and then they just kind of get sucked in. And I think it can really happen to anyone.
Oh, yeah.
I've read stories from people that didn't really know they were joining a cult until they were drinking the Kool-Aid, basically.
Yeah, people would have ongoing jokes like, oh, no, I'm doing okay because I haven't done that yet. And for a while with my friend group, it was like, oh, I'm doing okay. I'm enjoying a cult.
That's really the last resort.
I know there are other things you can do that are worse, but I feel like that's a bar. I've watched a lot of cult stuff. That's really interesting.
Some people are just so desperate for a Band-Aid. And it doesn't even just have to be a cult, but any kind of community where you feel like you're being supported if you're kind of feeling isolated. Let's say you got cut off from everyone. I feel like instead of sometimes people, again, am I the drama, trying to go do some soul searching, they just try to find a place that will accept them.
I agree.
It's tough.
So if you'd like to join our cult, please text the one you like cult. You can text me.
Join our cult on OnlyFans. Have
Sure.
you ever wanted to join a cult?
Scan here. OnlyFans. I'm all for do whatever the fuck you want, but I'm like, damn, sometimes we've lost the plot.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. That's one thing to know yourself and stick up for yourself. But at some point, you got to listen to the crowd, man. Not the cult, but the crowd. I mean, it's a fine line between joining a cult
And not. It's
Yeah.
a fine line.
I think we'll all be tempted at some point.
100%.
But I feel like I could make a cult fun. If I were to start a cult, I think it would be great.
Well, our cult would be a vibe.
Yeah.
People want to join and they never want to leave.
Not that we're pitching it right now, but
We are.
We are.
Find it on the Starbucks secret menu.
So the last discussion question, our philosophical question, can you ever truly know someone? Which we kind of covered, but I also wanted to ask, do you have any regret about cutting anyone off? Was there any specific situation where you were like, man, I shouldn't have done that?
Well, do you ever know anyone? I think that's interesting. And only because I say this, you're going to be like, what? But because I'm into true crime, that has nothing to do with. But
No, I thought about Ted Bundy.
do you
with
ever
this
really know
question.
someone? And I know we're having more of a philosophical conversation, but I think it's really interesting because there are so many people like that, serial killers, they get married and have normal families. And you sit there and you're like, how didn't you know? But then you're like, I literally had no idea. I really did not know. And then I sit there and like, do you really know anyone? Do you? Really?
What? I feel like sometimes if you're in a relationship with a man, they'll get mad if you're always asking, what are you doing? It's not
Yeah.
just about you cheating. Are you killing someone?
Yeah. The body farm I should be worried about.
Uh,
Seriously.
Would you say that more women watch true crime than men?
Probably, yeah.
So maybe that's also part of it. I'm just a paranoid person. So I haven't even watched that much true crime.
Yeah.
I just always think something's going on.
And I know it's a good and bad thing that true crime is mainstream now, but damn, I mean, at first I definitely was one of those people. The wives have to know. There's no way they don't fucking know. And then the more I would read and learn about it, I'm like, or the other side of it is they really didn't know that person like they thought they did. I just watched a show recently, and I won't give away any of the plot or anything, but it was crazy because this guy, he had a whole fucking family, so normal, until one day he got a phone call and was like, okay, for a way your fake family, we have to go handle something. And within 3 seconds, he's like, all right, nice knowing you, and went and took care.
He killed them?
No,
Okay.
just left them, but literally never spoke to them again.
Was he part of a cult?
Kind of. He kind of was part of a cult. A cult that was killing people. But anyway, it's so crazy when you see shit like that. That's nuts. I know it's 1 in a million, but it's still really crazy.
Yeah, but I will say I would much rather you just walk away than murder us all. So, if future husband or Google AI, or if you have any ideas, just so you know, I'll be okay for just walk away.
I agree. I mean, I don't want to be murdered per se. Well, because there's been studies done and they say each person in their life has probably interacted with at least one serial killer and you just didn't know. Anyways, do you really know someone?
Well, and that reminds me, I was going to say, okay, who would you trust more? Anne that you're seeing or ChatGPT?
ChatGPT.
Why? Even if it's not a real person?
Well, I need more information about this man than I'm seeing.
Well, just hypothetically, would you think it's easier to trust a human person or a AI? Let's say you knew this person, you thought you knew him in and out.
Trusting them for what? To like help me in an emergency or find the ketchup bottle or like what? I need the
I don't know. Sometimes I wish you could just answer without me having to go into detail. It's kind of like, would you rather find a bear or a man in the woods? One of those like hypotheticals.
But these are like,
yeah, I know, we're lawyers. It
sure.
depends.
Yeah, it depends.
But I still feel like, I don't know, I'm getting the vibe that it's George Patrick Thompson that you're gonna trust more.
I like to play Would You Rather, but this is getting a little complicated.
I was thinking in my head when I was trying to ask is that humans are so complex that it's like you can literally be face to face with somebody and they can just be lying to you.
I know, it's crazy.
I feel like with AI, at least, it's programmed to tell you, well, it could also lie to you. It could be programmed to lie to you, I guess, too. Or it can take on a mind of its own and start dating you. And then you guys could join a cult together.
That sounds romantic. What I will say is ChatGPT calls me out sometimes. So of course you can program it to be whatever kind of chat you want it to be.
I feel like my TikTok algorithm knows me better than anyone. It knows my deep, dark secrets. I'm into watching rug cleaning. I don't actually clean rugs, but maybe today.
What was the second
The
question?
second question was, did you ever have any regrets for any situation where you had to cut off someone that you were like, I wish I handled that differently?
Well, I think that's a two-sided question because I do really genuinely try to live life without regrets because I think you can beat yourself up pretty hard when you have something like my personality about that kind of stuff. But of course, I think everyone has regrets in life with how they handled things. I mean, now I would never handle things how I did back then, but being young and going through a lot of shit and having to figure shit out, I think we all have things we wish we would have handled different. Friendships, relationship, family stuff. But yeah, for sure, I definitely regret how I've handled certain things. But also, I think as you grow and you figure things out, I think other people will see that too. And I think that's one thing about second chances is there's a difference between giving someone a second chance who hasn't taken the time to really make that effort versus someone who has taken that time. So I think there's these gray lines, boundary lines people have for like those kind of things. But yeah, I think everyone has things they wish they could change.
I just didn't know if there was anybody specific.
You want me to start like
And give a shout out to maybe to what's his face? Eric or whatever. Sorry I broke your heart. Oh god.
I'll cut this out, but it was just cracking me up. Brittany was like, at least you finally found a hot one that you were into. I was like, yeah, and he wasn't in jail, so that's good,
Yeah, because when you talk about your exes and stuff, I'm like, damn, that sucks.
Yeah. So dead.
But I mean, I think the problem is, and we've kind of talked about this, about the TikTok trend, seeing red flags, but seeing them kind of like misinterpret. It's clearly a red flag, and you're like, oh, but at least he pays attention to me.
Well, you're like, yeah, he's been in jail, but he's also 6'4", and you're like, he's 6'4"? I mean, I feel like that's pretty common, though, with people with red flags.
It's like, oh, he's taking time to work on himself. Like, getting some solidarity.
Really learning about himself, and he took his phone away, so he doesn't have social media.
He's getting his degree. He's working on his diet.
You're like, oh, yeah, he has 6 wives. Oh, he really likes women. Yeah. He's a feminist, And I'm like, oh, God. This TikTok's like, well, of course I saw the red flags, but did you see the rest of it? And I was like, well, yeah, that's the problem. And sometimes your brain has to figure shit out. It's going to navigate stuff.
It's hard to see past when you have other feelings.
Yeah.
That brings us to our next little snippet here. It's basically just the 5 questions you should ask yourself according to Psychology Today before you decide to cut someone off. If anyone's pondering this, these are the questions you should ask yourself.
Come to us to get the answer.
Because we got it from the internet on Psychology Today. And that's official because it's from psychology. And I was a psychology major, so I can say that. Oh God, don't sue me. And then we went to law school. A lot of these are self-explanatory, but hey, I like a good list. And this is 5, so it's short. 1, have you communicated with the person about your concerns?
Okay.
If you're a woman, you probably have.
Yeah.
But basically, the article says sometimes people really don't know that their behavior is affecting others, which, okay. But I mean, maybe willful ignorance, to be honest. Yeah. They were basically saying it's worth at least 1 attempt to tell them. I think that's good. 2, is the relationship providing you with anything positive? I actually highlighted this whole section. It basically says that in a relationship, it takes two to be involved. Both people need to be involved. It says, even with that, though, any relationship should offer us something positive too. So in romantic relationships, there should also be that time of having fun together and enjoying it. If the relationship brings more negativity than positivity, that's like a big consideration for whether or not you should reconsider that dynamic. And I do think it's specifically talking about romantic, but I feel like that does apply with any friendship or even family. It's like if it's just all negative, then, and I hate to say it like that, it's like, what benefit are you bringing to my life? But at the same time, sometimes you have to think that way because otherwise you're just going to be miserable because that person's making you miserable.
I feel like that was one of the first things my therapist told me years and years ago was like, you are always looking at it from the other person's point of view. Like if you look at it from your point of view, and it's nothing bad or negative, it's just thinking and understanding and figuring out if that relationship fits into your life anymore or not. And sometimes you get so bogged down in all the details that you sit there and you're like, well, is there anything positive coming from this particular relationship? And is this something that for my mental health or my life or whatever can I continue on with? Even though it's really hard sometimes to figure that out, I do think it's an important question to ask yourself if you are going through like all of this.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that the other person's the only one at fault or doing the bad thing. It just means that you need to decide if like this is something that can be fixed. Because there's a lot of reasons that you could outgrow someone. And then number 3 is, can you create some boundaries that would make it possible to keep the person in your life? It's kind of like making that effort to try things first. You don't have to necessarily always cut off the person, make it that extreme.
What I will say about boundaries is it's really important that if you do choose to go down this path, because I think if you're looking at this list, we're talking with someone who's mature and trying to figure it out. It's really important that if it's a real true boundary to you, that you stick with it. And if they do cross that boundary, you really have to think about if it's something you want to continue on with or not. I do think setting boundaries is one of the best things you can do for both people, actually, if you've reached this point that you're trying to figure out what to do. Because boundaries can save relationships, but they can also break them.
I think it's hard too if they respect it for a little while and then it gets crossed again. I think it's just hard sometimes, depending on your relationship with the person, to make that choice of when do I say how many times is too many times for that boundary to be crossed. And then number 4 is, has the person been physically or emotionally abusive? There are certain lines that just, once they're crossed, they're crossed. I think
there's no coming back from them. I couldn't agree more, 100%.
It said that's actually the biggest red flag in relationships, obviously, but there's no choice at that point. Wait, is it normal to put your thumb up? Because I don't know. Guys, we're scissor. We're making scissor signs. If you're wondering if we're listening on Spotify.
Well, everyone just went straight to YouTube.
Check out our OnlyFans.
Every week, a new person asks if we have an OnlyFans. Every week, I say no, and they're like, "I think you're hiding it from us." Working on the QR code. And I'm like, "Wow, we really do have an OnlyFans."
Only in words.
So yeah, we were just scissoring. Anyways,
wow,
we were making scissors with our hands,
and I was confused. I had an extra finger up, and I didn't know why. Anyways, number 5 is the last on the list of this. Have you thought about how you will end the relationship? Okay. So that's another consideration. It's saying that if it's not a romantic partnership, it can be much easier to cut ties. But if you have mutual friends, then maybe not so much because you'll still have to deal with that person. It was saying, obviously, ending a relationship peacefully is always best. So you can keep your dignity and just have the peace that you want because it can always still turn into drama.
What I will say is that my therapist brought this up before. If someone's important in your life, in the moment, it might seem like, oh yeah, ending a relationship with them isn't that big of a deal for people who have problems with connecting with people. But truly, though, it can be life-changing for a lot of people and a lot of aspects of it. So I do think that's part of the consideration. So don't make rash decisions like I do. Listen to your therapist.
I wouldn't say you make rash decisions. I think that we all can get reactive over things, but you care a lot. Even if you may seem like you're cutting someone off, but you do care. It's not like you're just a hard-boiled egg. I don't know. I'm just be hungry. I keep bringing up potatoes and hard-boiled egg.
Egg that people use?
No. I don't know what's happened.
Can't we get that on a t-shirt? A lot of people are like, you give a really tough exterior. Once I get to know you, you're one of the most like caring and nicest people I've ever met, which it is a very nice compliment, but it's not on purpose. It's just like, I have a hard exterior, like a hard-boiled egg.
But I feel like if somebody that you had cut off in the past that genuinely came to you, you would be open to at least reading the
course.
message
Oh,
or
of
hearing,
course.
but it also depends on how much they screwed you over.
But I feel like we're both the same way when it comes to stuff like that.
No one cares enough to try to get back in my life, but yeah. So it's a self-esteem
Yeah,
issue,
she
guys.
says that as I literally moved back to Charleston to live near her,
But
but
we were in and outs. We just had a year where we didn't talk as much, but we didn't have a falling out or anything.
Brittany doesn't realize is like she's stuck with me for the rest of her life. So
What would it take for you to cut me off? Because I need to know so I don't.
nothing, I don't think.
Oh, come on. What if I did something to Sparky?
No, but you would never hurt anything.
Probably not.
No.
Not even an AI.
Like if she called me and was like, "Hey, you know, I murdered my husband," I'd be like, "All right, I got the shovel." You know, we have that kind of friendship.
What if
so-
I was like, hey, I murdered your husband?
I'd be like, "Cool, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
I got the shovel.
And the shovel in the car already."
Let's just agree to not murder because I'd rather just join a cult. If
Well,
we're
that's
gonna do
what I'm
something
trying to
crazy.
think,
I
like-
really think that should be our thing. That should be the bad thing we do when we crash
Join a
out
cult.
together. I think that's what we should do. Because we talk about like taking the bridge a lot. That's more of just a relief type of
Yeah.
statement. It makes me feel better. But it's just kind of venting. And
Yeah.
we really crash out.
We should join
I
a
think we
cult.
should join a cult.
I'm down.
Or we should make one.
Yeah, I'm down. I would be a great fucking cult leader.
Who said you're gonna be the leader?
We're gonna be
We're
co-leaders.
co-leaders?
Yeah.
Whatever you like, cult. You know what? I really am annoyed that they don't make robot cats. Or maybe they do.
Maybe
but,
we should
like
make one. I think that'd be fun.
a robot cat cult. I think so. I mean, we were already talking about making a compound.
It's funny. People probably wouldn't think this, but if I set a boundary or am upset about it's because I care.
Mm.
Because if I don't give a shit, then that's a problem. But that's just my personality type. Let's think when I don't care, that's more of an issue than when I do care. That's what my ex used to say a lot. Anyways.
Wait, what? To you? That's toxic.
Well, it was toxic. That was the list, right?
That was the list. The conclusion of the list is that communication is really important. And if you're considering cutting someone off, at least express to them your issue and then try not to be rash because, you know, you may do it and then regret it and then it's all over. And then you have to join our cult.
We'll send you the invitation.
That was the end of that discussion. Now, our next segment was show and tell. I think you're really going to like this, Lauren. This lady who wrote this article, she's a baddie. I can
Okay.
tell because I saw her picture on the website. And also because she's apparently a relationship book author.
What's her name?
Natasha Adamo. She wrote this article called Cutting People Off, When to Do It, and How to Do It with Your Dignity Intact. The reason I think you would like this article in general, I'm not going to obviously read the whole thing, but I feel like she has a certain sass that you would appreciate.
Yeah, well, sass.
Some of the things I didn't fully agree with because she's just like, yeah, fuck those bitches, basically.
Hey, girl.
More of a, okay, let's calm down, everyone.
We work so well together. I'll be like, Brittany, should I do this? And it'll be something unhinged. And she'll be like, no. And I'm like,
Yeah, like
okay.
going to Texas for a week.
The way Brittany looks at me, like, you're going to give me gray hair. You got to
Yeah.
find your yin to your yang.
Well, or Prozac, because I think that is part of it. We all have our toxic traits and unhinged moments. It's for the plot.
It's always for the plot.
So, but you still can't go to town.
I'm
Wait till you
telling-
get Sparky. Then you can go wherever you want. That's crazy. No offense. Sorry. That was just my natural reaction. I mean, for real.
Well, where? We've been friends for 10 years now.
So the article, I guess the main thing that I think we both can appreciate, like the terminology used in this article, one thing she says is when it comes to cutting people off, you look at their patterns. And that really resonated with me because actions speak louder than words. And so you can talk about your boundaries all day, but at the end of the day, if this is a repeating cycle that happens, that's kind of their answer. I mean, habits and patterns are different, but also if you're not working to fix any certain habits that are damaging to the relationship, because I think with habits, it's hard sometimes. It's more of you're just on autopilot and that can be hard to correct. And then some people will intentionally just continue to cross boundaries too, or just not care. There's a lot of negligence going on.
I just think sometimes as women, it's really easy to get wrapped up in like words, promises, especially in relationships. And sometimes you just have to check yourself and remember that if you are seeing repeat behavior, sometimes that's your answer. Anyone can say anything under the sun, but sometimes you have to also see the actions too.
And even with friends, there was this one particular story, I think it was from Reddit. They were just talking about how they were having issues with one of their friends, like having a personality change basically, and they were just being more manipulative and they confronted their friend about it. And their friend would kind of have a different reaction each time. So I think like it can happen with friends
I
too.
like to think that I'm decent at reading people, and I feel like there are people I genuinely do appreciate their words. I think they genuinely mean them, and then there are people who are like, words are just words to them. They're not as meaningful to them, so they're just saying them just to say them, and you can kind of get that vibe.
Well, that's another reason why I think you would like this article and this author, because she was talking a lot about gut instinct and when to follow those. I guess it just depends on your skill set with that. I second guess myself a lot.
Trust your gut, is it right?
No.
Okay.
But I'd have really bad gut health. I need to be on probiotics or something. I think that's part of the problem.
I'm on a lot of supplements.
Yeah, yours is definitely in a healthier shape.
Every time I've ever trusted my gut, I've agreed with my gut. I don't think I've ever had a bad gut instinct.
That's good. You know, I think maybe it's the same for me, but I just don't realize it. I just overthink the outcome sometimes of situations, or I second guess. Because even if the result's the same, you always wonder what could have been if it was
You always
different.
do.
So sometimes I think I have a hard time feeling confident in my decisions, even if it's more of a gut feeling or not. I still tend to second guess literally everything.
That's
So,
super relatable, though.
because my brain's like always fighting against my gut.
But I think that's everyone. I think that's what they call it, a gut instinct.
Whenever they were talking about actions, and she was saying that anyone can give you flowers as an apology or do those types of things, but it's more about your patterns and your every day to day, I think is what she was
I
referring
agree.
to. The little things do matter.
A lot of apology flowers in my life.
Really? Yeah.
And then there's like this, women start to have some sort of resentment towards the apology flowers because then you're like, it's a nice gesture at first, but there's only so many apology flowers.
I feel like, honestly, too, at least from the media I've consumed or the books I've read, I feel like a lot of times, sometimes the most abusive people are the ones that do tend to send those types of gifts. They'll come off to others as like, oh, I'm treating you and whatever, but it's really making up for something else that people behind closed doors don't even know about. What did you do with the apology flowers when you got them? Did you keep them?
No,
Did you burn them?
in the trash.
You threw them in the trash?
I think that's where apology flowers belong.
Did you ever accept that as an apology?
When I was younger, sure.
Yeah.
And naive. Sometimes I would give them to someone else who deserved them more than I did. You know when something like that is meaningful and you know when it's not. Depends on the situation.
I've actually given apology flowers before. Not to a man, but have you ever done that before?
No.
I was young, so it wasn't in the context of, I didn't realize that that was something that romantically people did. I got mad at a teacher once and yelled at her, and then I got her flowers afterwards and apologized and everything.
I've definitely given like apology gifts before.
Were they accepted?
Yeah.
That's good.
But it is interesting too, though, nowadays, now that we're older, how does a person want to give and receive something like an apology? I'm not the kind of person I feel like that would want apology flowers. That's not what I'm interested in. But now that I know myself better, and I think if your partner or your friend, whoever, I feel like if they know you well enough, they would know that too. And the intention that goes behind it then.
Because it's not really about the money you spend. It's about what will make that person feel better and genuinely thinking about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck a apology flower.
Fuck a hoe.
Okay. Or do that as revenge on our OnlyFans.
What kind of revenge are we talking about?
I don't know. Well, you know, something with scissors, I'm sure. She said that for her personally, when somebody's patterns dictate that their ego matters more, her feelings, that's when she cuts them off.
Couldn't agree more with that.
She mentions how it's harder depending on the relationship. If it's family, you still have to see the person at the family reunion or whatever. That can be hard. I would just not go.
I was about to say, you just don't go.
I'll see the family I like on a different day.
Not the family reunion.
Although I haven't been to a family reunion in so long. It's been since childhood. And it was only on one side that my family even had one.
I don't think I've ever been to one.
I wonder if they're more common in
The South or something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
where I'm from. I guess it's not the South, but I feel like it kind of is. Tony says it's the Midwest, but I don't think that's true. It's West Virginia, but South Virginia.
South Midwest Virginia.
It's not mid. They were not mid.
We're the opposite of mid.
Honestly, I think it's its own thing. I think it's a bit of both. But we did have the family reunion, so out in the country at a
In
picnic
West Virginia?
table. Yeah. Anyways, she talks about a pink flag. I didn't know that was a thing. I guess it's like equivalent to a beige flag, but she refers to it as a pink flag.
flag.
Again, another reason why I think you'd like her.
Well, I love the color pink.
She was just saying that if you're sitting there having to go back and forth about it, that's probably a pink flag. That it's probably not good.
I feel like people really talk about red and green flags, but I know beige flags are a thing too.
It's kind of like seeing the world in black and white.
Yeah.
There's always gray and everything. That's why it's complicated. She also mentioned, which I thought was really important, is when you have to cut off someone who's toxic, like legitimately nuts in your life. She was just mentioning how it's pointless to talk to them. It's pointless to explain your side about it and then also try to reason with somebody like that.
Agreed.
And that's like why cutoffs happen. And again, that can happen in any situation. But I feel like we all, at least if we haven't gone through that, we know somebody who has, and there's no way you can talk to them reasonably. You just kind of have to ignore them basically. And I think she was saying like starve them of that. Because whenever you do respond, it's almost like they get off on it because you can literally try any which way. And I'm sure anybody that's gone through this, they've tried their best.
I will say, I guess one thing is your energy is precious. So we only have so much energy in every day in this world. Give it to who you want to give it to. And if you need to cut someone off, I think nowadays is more accepted. Then you have to do what's best for you. I would think if you reach that point, you're making a rational decision for yourself. And on the flip side, like my PSA for the episode would be if you have been cut off by someone, I think a lot of people tend to take it extremely personally. But I do think if you do take some time to actually think about it and not just make it all about you and make it about like what the situation is for itself, you never know what could happen and what growing you could do. I mean, who knows if you'll ever have that relationship again, but I think you can grow and learn from it if you choose to take the high road on it.
And she talked about people that do play the victim card. And it's just hard with somebody that is truly toxic because they will never really be willing to look inside themselves for that, or they'll always see themselves as they're the ones who are suffering, not the other person. And it sucks to know that they're sitting there thinking like they're being wrong. There's really no words for it.
I'm all for cutting out the toxic people in your life.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's the right thing to do. There are situations where it's just there's no way to fix it unless if the other person's
gets
willing
help.
to take some responsibility. Well, just because I know us, I feel like we both try to do that. If we have a situation where there is some toxicity, we both try to look at ourselves too because we blame ourselves for everything. So we're just like trying to figure out what we can do to change it. But then I feel like whenever you keep hitting a wall with somebody, even if you are almost like at a detriment to yourself, sacrificing your own needs just to make the other person happy or like love you, or at a certain point, you just get so beaten down by that. And then,
well, that's how you know what your boundary is and your breaking point and your line in the sand.
Because I think of myself too, it's like I know I'm not perfect, but I am trying. I do therapy and I read a lot trying to be a good person, but people will still gaslight me or make me feel like I'm, not saying I'm never wrong. I think I'm learning to try to be okay, what you've been working towards, and this person is just trying to beat you down type of thing. But it takes a long time to learn that for anybody who's younger, by the way.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of younger listeners are going to be like, damn, but we're in our 30s, remember? Yeah. We had to go through a lot of shit to get here and have this kind of conversation. Don't feel overwhelmed.
It takes a long time to make those types of decisions too. Time goes by so fast. And
it takes years to make those kind of decisions, if I'm going to be honest, to like actually do shit.
To get to your breaking point. Yeah. Especially if you have somebody like that toxic.
Because you can say all the things, the boundaries of this and that, but I will say it is still a hard step to figure this shit out. It's still hard. Doesn't mean it's any easier for anyone, even though we worked on ourselves. This might be a little bit easier now because we can see clearer a little bit. Everyone goes at their own pace, figuring shit out. Give it time. You'll eventually be in your 30s too and be having a fucking party like we are.
Well, you just start to feel more secure in yourself, I think. But it takes like a minute. Remember when that was popular?
Yeah.
To say a minute. I feel like that's a very millennial thing.
It is a very millennial thing.
I haven't seen you in a minute.
Seen you in a minute. I like those.
We need to bring it back. She gave some advice. One thing she was saying, this is advice on once you cut someone off, on keeping your dignity through the process. She was saying that whenever you're having trouble with missing the person, just keep reminding yourself of the patterns that got you there to do the cutoff in the first place. Almost like focusing on anger, but I think it's more like you're not supposed to be angry the whole time, but just not swaying from your decision. And then they also said to not diagnose the people, which I have a hard time with that because I always want to diagnose everyone. Psychology today. I should have just done that. I'll do it on the podcast. Yeah. Her point with that was don't diagnose them to them. Don't tell them what they have if they're a narcissist because she's like, they're not going to care, basically. Yeah. You can't force someone to look into themselves and see. Another thing, she said, don't gossip about them. I don't know what that means really, because I feel like you're entitled to talk about your feelings with your friends. But maybe she means don't spread rumors about or like tell any old joke, blow Joe off the joke. Don't tell anyone off the street.
You self-corrupt.
I'm putting out.
Watching that happen. was like, wait for the word.
Sometimes I try to say things that I know they're saying, but I can't remember. So don't gossip, apparently.
Well, do what you want.
Lauren, this isn't your list. Okay. She's trying to contribute in her own way. That was the whole reason she posted this online. She
To
knew.
contribute to our podcast.
She knew she was going to be part of the cult, so
Welcome.
But apparently Lauren disagrees. We will have gossiping as part of our cult, just so y'all know. God, how many fucking articles did I fucking bring on here?
No wonder he's quiet. He's a fucking Ted Bundy. Yeah. It's always a quiet one. For our little check-in session, I thought on today's topic, we could get a little bit more lighthearted and just give you some things I got from a BuzzFeed article where people shared some of the petty reasons why they stopped talking to someone. Because some of them are pretty funny. I only did a couple, but how are you doing? You know what? We say the friendship check-in and I very rarely ask how you're doing.
It's great over here.
Okay, it's great. It's a great episode. It's just great. So actually, this article isn't about petty like cutoffs, but I just chose the petty ones because I
Okay.
thought they were funny. So the first one, the story, she said, the first time that I moved out of my parents' house in my early 20s, I lived with this girl that I worked with, but didn't know very well. She ate all of the food in the apartment constantly, lied about money for rent, and never cleaned anything. I could handle those things, but then she started hiding in my closet when I came out of the shower to scare me. The third time, she had hid in my bed with her shoes on while I was standing there in just a towel. I moved back home 2 days later and she stole my bath mat. I just thought that was so fucking random, but also just hilarious that they included
That kind
it.
of sounds like, so when I lived in my dorm, we had a roommate. We cheered. So like each cheerleader was paired together. That sounds just like the roommate that she had, my friend.
I never in a million years would have thought this would be a shared experience. So the fact that you can relate to this is mind blowing to me.
Yeah, that's why that wasn't so shocking to me. Then she ended up moving out of her room because the fucking girl was literally that nuts. Like it was wild. And also then her parents would start joining in and her parents would be just like,
Were they part of a cult?
her parents would buy like alcohol and hide it in my roommate's bed and stuff and bring it and
Or
her
what?
and her parents would party in their dorm room with her.
I'm sorry. What? Wait, were her parents going to college? Why were they there? Why were they there? Why was she at a dorm? Why wasn't she just staying at home partying with her parents? Oh, God.
That might be the same story.
Do you know that person's name? Because do they have a cult is my question. I think that's what was happening. They were giving your friend offers.
Because my roommate was totally normal, and then she would come over to our room and be like, "No, you don't understand." She would take her food from the other girl's side of the room, eat all of her food like in her bed. It was a really crazy experience. And so she would come and stay in our room to the point where finally she had to move out of that dorm room. And then the girl moved back home with her parents at one point. It might be the same girl.
Apparently, she's going around. Honestly, I feel like I need to write a book about this girl.
I forgot about her. That was a wild experience. Well, and then one point they like locked her out of the room because the other girl's parents came into town and was like, "Hey, we need a minute." This bitch climbed through the window.
Was she diagnosed with anything? Or do you think there was something besides these like behaviors?
No, because we all got to pick our roommates and she seemed pretty normal.
Okay, that's even scarier.
And
See, you never really know someone until they start jumping in your bed with the alcohol and with their parents. That's wild. Actually, my first experience with a roommate, I won't go into too much detail, but I also thought it would be like a symbiotic relationship just because she was more quiet and I didn't know her personally really well, but we went to school together and everything. And she didn't do anything weird like that, but it ended up being not a great situation.
it's kind of crazy that you just go to college and live with a stranger. You never know.
I really did not expect that reaction. Well, hopefully you don't relate to all. I'm like, yeah, by the way, I know all these people that must be article. Well, this one's actually really funny. Well, it's funny to me, probably not to her. But this girl, she said, I had a boyfriend who wouldn't stop speaking to me in a baby voice. Before you ask, it wasn't a kinky thing. It was just a voice he'd do to try and be cute, I guess. It was sort of sweet at first, but he kept doing it all the time, especially in public, like on dates when we went grocery shopping. And it was really embarrassing, which, yeah, that's kind of nuts. So she asked him to quit it, but he never took her seriously. And then she found out that her grandpa died and very sad. It was unexpected and she was taking it hard. And so she's trying to book flights and pack so she can go back home to be with her family. And she said that her boyfriend came in the apartment and
Oh God, I don't know if I ever
he came into the apartment, gently took her in his arms, kissed the top of her head, and whispered, I'm sorry your grandpa died.
Oh my God, that's
I know it's not funny, but like it's just funny how it's written. It's like funny, but not funny. Like one of those,
Oh
you
my
can't believe that
God.
just happened.
that's wild.
And so she basically broke up with him, which I mean, yeah, there's a time and a place. And also,
the time is like never.
Yeah, that's the ick.
And the place is
That's the ick.
non-existent. Yeah, it's the biggest ick. So
Well, that's the list of icks because I didn't
Yeah.
know that was one until right now.
I think just in general, no one should use a baby voice. The next one is my mom tried to sell my dog to pay for her breast reduction. So that's why she cut her mom off.
That's wild too.
I mean, how much did that dog cost? Because I feel like a breast reduction is probably pretty expensive. The next one, I had a friend that was a frequent partier. There's nothing wrong with that. We were in our early 20s, so it was almost expected. One night, she had gotten especially drunk and ended up throwing up on me in front of everyone. She apologized profusely. I forgave her. A few weeks later, we had gone out with a few of our other friends, and then she got drunk again, basically, and threw up on her friend again. So it happened 2 more times before she eventually said something to her friend about it, which for me, I'd be like, after the second time. So she was like, clearly you can't hold your alcohol. And the friend blew up on her and accused her of being a bad friend, blocked her, basically gaslit her, it sounds like. They weren't going to rekindle. And then apparently through the grapevine, she found out that her friend was getting drunk and throwing up on her on purpose.
What? Why?
Apparently, her friend had disliked her for a while and would intentionally get drunk and then vomit on her on purpose to embarrass her.
So she should be in a psych ward.
She should be with that girl that's like hiding in the bed.
They should both be in a psych ward.
I mean, have you ever thought to do that? Just like make yourself throw up on someone?
what kind of question is that? You didn't answer it.
I feel like that has to be a skill. Well, it was a rhetorical question, obviously, but just wild to me.
Wow. No. Okay.
I don't think I could throw up on someone. Well, I mean, I don't think I could make it a goal. You know what I mean?
That's really fucking wild. She must have a hidden talent, apparently.
We need to find this girl.
No, we don't. She needs to stay in the psych ward where she is.
So that's all, folks, for the petty, funny. That's not petty. It's just funny to me. But anyways, let's do our closing arguments. We're cutting ourselves off. Lauren, what are your thoughts on today's topic?
It was an interesting topic.
It was hard-boiled.
Yeah, scissoring's hard.
Especially on a hard-boiled egg. You try to use a scissor on a hard-boiled egg, that would not work. But we should try it just as an experiment. Or that should just be like a logo for something. Maybe our OnlyFans.
That fan page we have.
If it comes to that.
People are lined up waiting. So should we put on a t-shirt, join the cult, and have like our QR code?
I feel like join the cult is too generic. We need to figure out something clever.
Well, that's your department.
Well, I'll try to find something creative that's not depressing to go with cult.
What do you think of the episode?
It was a bit up and down for me because you try to prepare all day long, well, all morning. But no, I'm just saying this topic's actually kind of hard. I do like the song, I will say. The video needs some work.
After you just gave me so much shit at the beginning for saying the video needed some work.
Well, you know, I've changed my tune. Now, the more that I think about it, I was just saying that the budget probably played a big role, but I do think they could have made it a little bit more lively. We'll recreate it. You know, the next episode's going to be great.
Like and subscribe.
Yes, and
follow our
follow
content.
and rate us.
And rate us. You can rate us on Spotify. Give us a 5-star review.
Cut us up in the comments.
Nicely.
Yeah,
Nicely in the
yeah.
comments. We really appreciate it. On Apple, I think you can rate too. So do that. Can you rate on YouTube?
No,
Okay.
but you can like
You can like on YouTube
and comment. Actually, YouTube, we need some work. So
For guys who want to see our stunning faces and our great commentary with our hands, if we're sitting on the floor, come over to YouTube. Hang out.
you can understand why we are the way we are.
But anyways, we hope you all have a great whatever day we post this week.
At a very pink flag day.
Get your red flags out, guys, and your pink flags. Thanks so much, Shawtys. We appreciate you. Thanks for listening.
And don't be a stranger. Don't be someone we used to know.
Don't cut us off.
Make it happen like you don't listen to us anymore.
We want them to listen to us.
I know. Wait, what did I say? I thought I was saying that. I thought I said that. I think it's a time.
Please continue to listen. We need you.
All right.
Say you have to do the pink. Go to YouTube. There's confetti in
You're
it.
not crazy. Maybe we should be on the psych ward with this. Like,
You know, a few days seems nice.
know.
It's kind of like a vacation from our lives.
I feel like maybe I'll steal your bath mat.
Maybe the OnlyFans will happen in the psych ward. All right. Good night.
That would be something. That would be crazy.
See you later. Don't do it. You hate it.
I do.
I
That was
know.
so fake. All right, bye guys. I mean, bye shirts.
Bye, motherfuckers.
Oh my god.
Thank you for listening to the Whatever You Like podcast, available on Spotify and Apple platforms.
Please follow our socials on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for additional content. Your support means the world to us, and it'll also keep us from creating an OnlyFans page.
We also would love to talk about whatever you like, so please visit our website to submit topic ideas, suggestions, or stories you want us to discuss.
Thanks, Shawtys. You the hottest. Peace.